Hello, hello. We're going to talk about the nervous system and how it affects midlife hip pain, really any part of the body, but we're specifically going to talk about this for the effects of the muscle groups affected on your hips, okay? So the first thing that I want to remind you that the nervous system, there are parts of your nervous system that are they're automatically controlled, like we can't really make ourselves just stop breathing. Typically, if we try to, we would pass out and we would naturally start breathing on our own again. So those are automatic things, autonomic nervous system, okay? There are things we can control, though, all the rest of the nervous system. And largely, we control it by thought and by breath. And most of the time, we control our breath by our thoughts. First of all, we have to think that we want to control the breath, right? And the breath is what controls the nervous system. So one of the reasons that you'll see a lot of breathing apps talk about inhale for 4, exhale for 6, as long as you're exhaling longer than your inhale, you are working on the rest and digest part of the nervous system. You're working on the calming, we'll call it the calming section. Your sympathetic nervous system, you'll see that word a lot, sympathetic. Doesn't sound like it, but it's really a hyped up fight or flight response, okay? The parasympathetic nervous system is the calming, the rest and digest. All right, so the typical story goes that if we are in a state of fight or flight, meaning we're a little worried, we're worried about something happening, we're fighting for our lives, we're doing whatever, that's called the sympathetic response, and we are okay, more along those lines. So anytime that you inhale, you're activating the sympathetic nervous system, okay? Anytime we exhale, we are activating the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, if we are in a state of panic, that's not the same as what I'm describing about the exhales, okay? The exhales would be purposeful exhales, whereas this is just the body desperately gaining more breath in and can't, okay? So telling our brain to focus on the breath can help that by forcing the exhale a little longer than the inhale, okay? So now we're getting into the fight or flight version. But that's usually the problem. That's usually why we are stuck with some of these hip problems, is because we are stuck in a fight or flight. So what I want to share with you is in the hip, okay? So in the hip, if I were to drill a hole through my belly button, I would hit the spine. Once I hit the spine, there's going to be a handful of little tendinous muscles that come out. They're going to come through the hip and attach to my leg bone, okay? And that is called your hip flexor. That is called your iliopsoas, your iliacus and your psoas muscle, okay? They are our fight or flight muscles. In the event of emergency, they bring the upper body and lower body together, okay? And if you pay attention to that muscle, you will notice that even a perceived danger will cause you to flex in the groin. That is usually where we end up with a lot of trouble. We are using the groin muscles to hold us up instead of the abdominal muscles, okay? We are using the groin muscles to hold a lot of tension from stress. I can imagine sitting in a doctor's office, you're getting really irritated. And for females, we tend to push out on the belly and squeeze in the groin and our hip flexors, and that's how we hold ourselves up. That's how we just end up holding ourselves. That is a recipe for disaster in the hips, okay? We want to learn to sit your body up properly. If you need to rest your back, rest your back. That gives you a chance to relax the hip flexors, engage the abdominals just a little bit in, and give those hip flexors a rest, because when they're constantly pulling, you are going to pinch your TFL. And earlier I showed you how to find your TFL. If you put your hand on the seam of your pants and fold forward, that's your TFL. That TFL tends to get overused, overstressed, and very tight, and you have a lot of nerves and blood flow, believe it or not, running through that area. Once you get that muscle super tight, and if it stays there, adhesions could form, and then you have no gliding, okay? And then you have the nerves that run through there that are constantly being compressed, okay? It's important that we understand that we have to find the right ways to relax the body, okay? Even in states of stress, you can find ways to relax the body so it's not in a constant contraction. And so we're going to do that with your breath. The first thing that I want you to do is just place your hands either on your legs, okay, or on your chair and rest. All right, if you have something to rest your head on, go for it. I want you to learn to feel the body relaxed. And the one thing that I want you to do is inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Now, while you're inhaling and exhaling, I want you to notice, do your shoulders come up or does your chest expand? In your belly, okay? You want to learn to breathe through here, not here, okay? If you are breathing here, you are in a state of stress. You are using your secondary breathing muscles to do your breathing, okay? You can learn to put your hands on your belly, push the belly out, and inhale, and exhale the belly thin. Now, I don't have people exercise like that, but that is how I teach them to breathe so that they have the right compression on the exhale, okay? You want to exhale the air out from down here all the way up and out, okay? So if you are caught in a state of fight or flight, inhaling for 4, maybe holding for 6, maybe exhaling for 8, those are the most common breathing patterns that can get the body in a calm state. The other one is left and right nostril breathing. So breathing in through the right and then breathe out through the left. I find this one, or vice versa, okay? I actually do both, but I find that one to be the most calming to me because it focuses my brain on what's going in and what's coming out and how do I feel. The sides are a little bit different. So anyway, there are tons of breathing apps out there, and Apple Watch has an awesome breathing app. It is meant for you to do several minutes a day. It then reads your HRV, which we'll talk about that in a moment, and can give you an idea about what your nervous system is doing, okay? I wear a Garmin. A Garmin has very similar things, and it can take and measure that heart rate in a way to tell you how healthy is your nervous system acting right now, okay? So heart rate variability, HRV, is something a lot of these fitness apps, fitness watches will have on them now. And what that tells us is this: whenever you inhale, your heart rate raises. Whenever you exhale, the heart rate lowers. And the HRV has to do with what's the difference between the two numbers, okay? Depending on what method you use to measure it, the number should either be higher or lower. So I have a Garmin stress app, and as long as the Garmin stress number is lower, my HRV is doing fabulous. I happen to know that on the health app of the Apple phone and watch, the higher the number, the better your HRV is. So do your research, but you can definitely get an idea of what your nervous system is doing by your HRV numbers, which that will also tell you in your health app on your phone if you have an iPhone or an Apple Watch. As for Garmin, you'll have to kind of go, I'm not sure what an Android phone would have on it, to be honest with you. I'm sorry, I can't help you with that, but there are HRV apps out there where you just put your finger on the back of the camera and the light will measure your heart rate in and out, and it will tell you what your HRV is. So I have one of those apps also. I like that as well. So breathing exercises to keep the body in a calm state. And sometimes women don't realize they're caught in a chronic fight or flight state. And how can you tell? 1, you can check your HRV. 2, you can monitor your heart rate at different times of the day. What is your resting heart rate? If your resting heart rate is above 70, that's not ideal. We want to have your resting heart rate below 70 for sure. And if we can get it below 60, it's optimal, okay? So you can check your resting heart rate. You can check your HRV. You can check your simple breathing patterns. If you're breathing, okay, that's a state of fight or flight. That is not the way we want to breathe. We want to breathe calmly, okay? In through the nose, out through the mouth is ideal. In through the nose, out through the nose. In through the nose, out through the nose is also ideal. So get your breathing under control. Maybe practice it daily. Make sure that you are working on your nervous system. Make sure that you are in control of your nervous system. As postmenopausal women, I can tell you this for a fact, is that our chemistry changes once we stop having estrogen. Our blood pressure changes, and that is why we get the hot flashes. it's the different, the way our veins open and close, okay? It's different once we hit menopause. So we get warmer faster, we get stressed faster, and it all has to do with that system in our body that is not now regulated with the estrogen. So more breathing exercises, more calming states, more calming thoughts. Making sure you're getting exercise is going to keep your cardiovascular system healthy. And the healthier your cardiovascular system, the healthier your nervous system. So all of these things play a role, and it's very, very important. I have witnessed, not only with myself, but with family members and many clients and many people that I cross paths with out and about. It's very easy to see when someone is in a chronic state of fight or flight, and when it's really bad, they are in pain all the time. That state of the nervous system can cause pain, constant pain in your muscles, in the hip joints, and a lot of times doctors will want to write it off as bursitis, as impingement, or as strain, or tendon fraying, whatever you want to call it. But I'm telling you, it starts with the nervous system. So you get that under control, you will have control of your pain levels, guaranteed.